We are live now, right? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes,
How you doing, my friend?
I'm fine, Will. How you doing?
I'm okay. We're here in New York,
Uh,
This this thing of COVID staying home, it kills the whole purpose of why I chose to live in New York, because I chose to live in New York
to
to be
stay up.
able to hang out with people, and not being able to hang out with people for me would be even better to be closer to nature, and still connect, because but I don't know. We'll see how this go. And how is it in Zurich?
In Zurich, it's actually, we didn't have a full lockdown yet. We were able to still be out, with 5 person max. Of
Okay,
course, you need to keep the distance of 2 meters, but
okay,
we didn't have a completely lockdown. Now, since Monday, everything is open, restaurants, bars, not the nightclubs. Nightclubs are still closing,
okay.
but uh, yeah, it's quite strange when you go out and people look at you and say, "Hey, keep distance, please." It's crazy. It's crazy how in 2 months, like the behavior of the people changed.
Yes, yes. The thing is, it might stay for longer than we think. So
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
I think it's something that will never disappear completely
Mm.
for the next at least couple of months.
Couple of months. Yeah, a couple of months. Yeah, I don't know if I have a timing on this thing, on when behavior will go back to what they were, but I think it's gonna stay. It's gonna stay for some time. Um, for some time.
You think
You know.
people learn something about that COVID? You think that yeah, we're as a human. Do you think we learned something about that?
Oh, I don't think it's always clear what you have to learn of things, but I think like at individual levels, each one of us will have to figure out what we learned from being confined for 2 months, or um, what we learn about security, um, but we'll see. We'll see. And I think it's one thing is the virus, and it's another thing what's happening in the economy, the impact it's having on people's life. And I think also that we cannot completely attribute um, what's going to happen in the markets and in the economy completely to the virus. Let's say that the virus triggered things that were already in trouble, and that is something we'll have to deal with as a society. I think that's the most important part is, as a society or as business people, business person, is it okay to have that level of leverage and be so to the limit of your cash flow that if you have a 1 month bump or a 2 month bump, you have massive bankruptcy. So that's
Mm.
something we'll have to deal later.
Yeah, it's
But
great because about the economy here also in Switzerland. Even if it's a very, very good country, people are losing their jobs. A
yeah,
lot of restaurants are closing, but still the market, it's like going up. It's something that I cannot give an answer. To myself, how is it possible that the people are still losing job and companies are closing and the market is going up?
so the thing is, markets have really one function, and that function is called price discovery. And the discovery part of it is the most important. That means um, the dynamic of markets, because they're fluid. It's not the same thing as a building, buying and selling a building, or selling a share of a company who owns that building that is trading in the stock market. So the stock market is more fluid than the real economy. So because it's more fluid than the real economy, the main function it has is price discovery. What does that mean, price discovery? Price is not, there's a big difference between price and value. Okay. So let's say you like a car and that car has a certain value for you.
Yes.
And I don't like that car, and that car has a different value for me. But for us to do a transaction, we'll agree on a price, okay?
Yes.
So you and I will be having conversations until we find that price where we can make that deal happen. Exactly. So that's the purpose of markets, because different people have different value on an asset. So you go to markets through a dynamic buying and selling until you discover a price that makes sense. Okay. So there is one thing about price and about the brain. The brain always wants to stay with what it remembers and what it knows. So let's say a share was at $100, okay? But it was at $100 because fundamental economics made sense that it was at $100 based on earnings. So let's say the share was at $100, the company was making $10, so it was trading at 10 times earning. So $100 is okay. Now you have something like COVID happen, and maybe earning will go down. How much down? We don't know yet, okay, because it's too early in the process. So what happened is people are afraid. The price went from 100 to 60 in a drop. So if it went to 100 to 60, what does the brain tell you? The brain tells you it was at 100, so 60 is cheap. So if 60 is cheap, let me buy. Okay?
Yes.
60 doesn't mean it's cheap or it's expensive. What I need to know, what will the earning be? Because if the earning is going to be 30, 60 is expensive. Sorry, if the earning is going to be $3, 60 is expensive. If the earning is going to be $8.
Now I can hear you. Now I can see you and hear you again.
Okay, so I'll do it again, because that's an important context of understanding why market are what they are, you know?
Yes.
Like I said, the role of markets is price discovery. And discovery is a dynamic process. It's not something that is fixed, okay? So let's say a company, the share was $100. The share was $100 and earnings were $10. So the price was 10 times earning. Okay. Something like COVID happened, and you said earnings are going to drop, but we still don't know how much. So people start selling. So they sold so fast that the price went to 60. Okay. So all of a sudden, because you remember the 100 price, you say 60 is cheap. So you get in, you buy, and you drive the price back to 80. Now, here comes the question. If earnings are going to be $3 instead of $10, 60 was still too expensive. That means that price should have dropped to 30. But if earnings are going to be $8 instead of those $10, so the price of 80 is okay. But we're at least sure the price is not 100, because most companies will not be making the same earnings they were making before. So the question is, how much will earnings be? And based on how much will earnings be, we will know, we will discover together through the dynamics of market what the real price is. Okay. So market, their main function is to fluctuate. They do up and down because, like I said, exactly, because price is about discovery. It's a dynamic process because different people have different values. They have different values because you have different information, different assumption. But one thing for sure is the brain tend to make a mistake and do something.
William, yes, I can hear you now. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, that's exactly what should happen. So, that's something incredible. And you were telling that that the brain stops, right?
Yes. Yes. The
And,
brain stops and stays with the past information.
Mhm.
So because we don't know what's coming, through market, we will discover what it is. Because as more information comes in, people jump into the market because they think it's cheap. And then they will gradually incorporate the information, and price will find where it should be.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
go ahead. Because that's the point of market. Market is about collective discovery through interaction, through dynamic of buying and selling. Okay.
Okay. And what do you think of the new startups, of the new business model, of new people who want to create a startup, want to create a product, a service? Is that a good point right now for them?
That's a broad question.
Mhm.
I think it would make sense if we can separate it a little bit.
Yeah, for example, I think a lot of companies are closing right now.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
because they're bad, maybe because they didn't have a great product through
Mm-hmm.
this time to survive.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, for example, that I am in the nightlife industry,
Yes.
and I'm looking for now a co-founder since 1 year, going through the process to find a technical co-founder.
Yeah.
Do you think for guys like me that are looking for co-founders, or is that more easy right now to find one? Now I can hear it again.
Okay. So let's go to the concept of first, why do you build a startup?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And then does it make sense to have a co-founder and the whole aspect of the team? Okay.
Yes. So my product or my service, it's about bringing people outside from Switzerland for a weekend trip.
Yes.
Um, we are moving around 40 to 80 people per event.
Yes.
We organize for the guests everything for the people. We organize the hotel, the trip, the stay there, and of course the whole reservation, the whole process in the nightclub. We
Yeah.
started then, and then we scaled it to London, Barcelona, and other cities in Europe. But we did everything manually.
Yeah.
So I called the hotel. I called, I reserved the reservation. I did the reservation for the flight tickets and everything, and it was, for a company view, very, very difficult. I mean, we were very lucky now because it was all the time sold out. But for example, when you call an air company and you say, well, we are a group of 50 people. We need to fly to Milan.
Yes.
From Friday to Sunday. They
Yeah.
say, well, that's great, but you need to pay at least the 50% when you reserve, But till then, you don't have, you're not sure if you have 50 people and you don't have the money. So you need to pay everything before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with the hotel. You book for 25 rooms, and the 50 or the 75% you need to pay before. And the last 25%, like 2 weeks earlier or something like that. It depends, which company they have the rules. And now I would like to automate everything on a digital platform. So when you, for example, William, you go to this platform and you have a bunch of friends that say, well, I'm here in Zurich right now or in Geneva, and I want to go to Barcelona for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
For person, we go to the platform and we say, okay, that's the Barcelona, the destination. In this nightclub, for these people, we have everything prepared. We have the reservation directly from the platform to the nightclub. So, the nightclub don't need to to identify us at the door. The club sees everything on the platform, and you pay directly through the platform. So you reserve the hotel, the flight, and the club.
I got you.
And that's why exactly I'm needing a technical co-founder, to build this digital platform and then scale it in the future with other features.
I got your point. I think it makes sense to separate a few concepts. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at the way the economy works and the process of creating wealth, you can identify two main reasons people accumulate wealth.
Mm-hmm.
One is access to credit. Okay.
Yeah.
What is access to credit? Is the ability that you know how to get big loans. So I need to buy this building. I can put up 10%, and then I know how to raise 90% of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I have the network of people and I know how to structure it in a way that I have access to credit. So access to credit, people who have access to credit is one of the main driver of wealth creation. And actually what's going on in the market right now is that because interest rates have been so low, a lot of people did a lot of excess by accessing credit for deals that didn't make sense to do. And that's what's going to unravel in the market right now. Okay, so but that's one major way of making wealth is access to credit. Another way that is also tested through time to create wealth is what you're talking about, which is technology, which is how do you create a better user experience through the use of technology. And when I say technology, I talk in a broad sense. It might be through a different business model, through using a different process with some technology, you're able to create a better user experience, or that level of technology may vary. It may be purely technological, or it may be less technological than you think, but just, you might not be using new tech, but just putting together the existing tech to create a new user experience. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whenever you do that, and you're able to specifically communicate to the user the value and the benefit of that, that's another way to create wealth. And that doesn't have to... Go ahead.
The solving of the problem, why is this a better experience for the users?
Exactly, because what happened is sometimes people think building a startup is about solving a problem. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. When you know how to solve a problem, that makes you an engineer. A businessman is someone that can communicate to the user why it makes sense to use the solution.
Tell the story.
Exactly. So really business is about storytelling. So it's about how can, and I struggle with that a lot in my whole thing, because being an engineer, and training finance is like that second part of the storytelling, you have to really think about it. But you do not build a business just by solving a technological solution. You build a business because you're able to make people connect to your brand. And then you generate value through the technology. Okay. So that aspect of creating value always makes sense. Whether you have access to credit or not, because it's pure creativity, it's pure brain. And it's pure human capital. I don't mean that you won't need money, but most of the money you will need is to pay people. So it's human capital. So if you manage to create relationship where that human capital is willing to work with you for no fiat money, that means not for dollars or for Swiss francs or for euros, but for a different currency, which is a piece of that company, you actually created your own money and the ability to actually create wealth through that relationship with your co-founder. Okay.
So you're telling me that, tell me if I'm wrong, it's like giving him like a stock option of the company so that he can be my co-founder, and not maybe paying him monthly, like for a salary, but the salary is like the 10% of the company, or the 20%, whatever it is, of for building this technology.
Yes, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of, like I said, you can either have credit, which is access to money, or you can either create relationship with friends that have know-how and you together create your own money, which is growing the value of the shares of your company. Because when you're creating a company, the shares of your company is your currency as an entrepreneur. And the value of your currency, like the value of any currency, is based on the capacity to create wealth of the people within that ecosystem. So your company is your ecosystem, and your shares is the currency within that ecosystem.